Hi, and welcome to Empowerment Unleashed Now, exploring your inner authority. I am your creative innovator today, Michele Jones, here with my brother from another mother.
Scott Collins.
What up? Put up?
What up?
Yeah, kind of everything's up, like in this like Aquarian energy, like woo, the waves, like they are up. It is like kind of a high tide, dude. I think sparking a lot of creative innovation and rethinking approaches to challenges is what our topic for today is. And I think that creative innovation is kind of like a core of what Aquarius is. And I know that there are people out there listening to us that are thinking, hey, man, I'm just not into that astrology thing. Right. And you and I are going to do like an astrology 101 dialogue for our listeners in the next couple of weeks, probably after an interview that is going to air that we did when we went out to Palm Springs. We'll talk about that in a minute. But one of the things that I think is really interesting is that you might not be into astrology, but if you're into any energetic themes or if you're into paying attention to what's going on in the world, in case you haven't noticed, the month of January is done. We're like going to be broadcasting this the third week of February. And legitimately, it was the fastest January that I could ever remember, like in the history of January since I've been on the planet. And I'm sorry to say this, bro, but you know better than anybody. I am no fan of January.
Yeah, in the rear year. Well, and with February, we're going to get an exacerbation from today as we're taping Uranus going direct, and Uranus ruling Aquarius. So whatever you think was fast in January, I would expect like a more spherical expansion at an even more accelerated rate going forward.
Yeah. So Aquarius, like Aquarians, like they're air signs. And they're, the signature to me of the Aquarian is there is no signature. No two are alike, or rather, they are all individual and unique signatures. They're an awareness, a consciousness, if you will, that to me is super wavy in terms of it's not linear, right? And it's also not circular.
Mm-hmm.
It is kind of like a frequency, right?
Yeah. Well, yeah, like waves in a pool. You throw a rock in a pool and those waves are moving in all directions. Or you have seismic activity underneath the ocean. You get waves in all directions.
Yes.
A series of waves. Yeah, and that's what we're going to start experiencing in an amplified manner now. Which one do you surf, and in what manner do you surf them?
Right. But surfing it is the key to it, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like you have to surf it or else the wave is going to knock you down and it's going to kind of overtake you. And, obviously here in America, we are into a new presidency and it is moving very, very quickly. We have a president who is a Gemini. And so when you have an air sign moving through the transit like this, things are going to seem somewhat disturbing at times to people. Things are going to seem shocking to people. It might also be a kind of like, what in the good Lord's name are we even trying to do here? It might be just beyond anything anybody's ever thought would even work.
Yeah. And with Jupiter, the planet of expansion in Gemini also, that's again magnifying all of these things.
It's totally. So, I'm a Gemini rising and I have, had Jupiter with me since when, Scott? June? See your transit, right?
Yeah. last
Okay.
June,
Okay.
or right around like early June. Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. That was what I thought. And I
Mhm.
just feel like now, which is well over half the year into it, or about 8 months, like, into it, if we think of this as like February, um, I'm just now starting to actually see some of that influence of Jupiter, that expansion like occurring. So just for our listeners, I just wanted to say thank you to people that are out there, that are supporting, that are listening, that are commenting, that are paying attention. We're humbled, we're honored, and most importantly, we hope that we're helping, right? Because one of the things that we learned this week is that we have like been getting a lot of great feedback and downloads, and we're kind of like ranking out there. It's like the first time that I ever learned that there were reviews when somebody came into my office for Nashville colon care, and they were like, "Hey, I've read your reviews. They're great." And I was like, "What?" And so like our producer Noah was like, "Hey guys, we have some news. Like you've made it into like, like a top 10% rank." And I was like, "What?" Like I didn't even know that it was out there. So one of the things that I wanted to share, Scott, and it's kind of like the funny story of what we did on winter holiday break. So we so we went to Palm Springs, not together, but we went to go on a mission together. Okay. So I have some women friends that I've known for a lot of years, and we do a yearly gathering. And it happens to be in Palm Springs this year. And Scott, I think Scott and I are people that really don't need an excuse to travel. Although just before the show, Scott was asking me maybe we should go to LA. And I was like, no, I'm not traveling. So, welcome to the Aquarian transit. It changes on a dime. I legitimately, asked Scott, I was like, hey, if we go out to Palm Springs, I think that we could interview Christopher Witecki, who is the sensei, the teacher of Serious Joy. It's a great platform that Scott and I both subscribe to. And we're going to drop that interview next week. And so Scott and I headed out there because we're people that really have benefited from his work. And I'm in Christopher's like business coaching, spiritual coaching program right now. So Christopher had this great idea that we would go at the beginning of November, and Scott and I showed up, and we were not on his schedule. Like he was in between juggling like a large staff, like so many assistants that you have to kind of give them numbers, like the Devil Wears Prada, which is, kind of funny to me. But he legitimately, so Scott and I were in Palm Springs, and I had been like, with my girlfriends, I don't know, like living in bad 80s music, which I can't stand anyway for the most part. It's part of why I went like punk and like new wave, because that stuff it really just doesn't, I don't know. The frequency just doesn't work for me. So Scott would come by, pick me up, and all of a sudden it would be like getting into like the Zen meditation, vehicle. And I would just be like, okay, I totally have to change my frequency, and get into the groove and the flow. So we're grooving, we're flowing, we get there. Nobody knows who we are. We think that we see two people that walk out that looked like they weren't necessarily terrestrial based. And there's somebody that's in front of us who's like, and who are you? And so we're like, Michele Jones, Scott Collins, have an appointment, 12 o'clock, came from Nashville, Tennessee to Palm Springs. And the dude closes the door on us again. He's going to take the information back. So at that point, I say to Scott, and I told Christopher the story, so I don't feel like I'm spilling any tea, because his assistant did a great job. But I said to Scott, this is like super like funky weird.
Yeah, it
And
was like the door at the Emerald City in Wizard of Oz.
oh my God, that, yes, could have been that. Or you said something else, bro, which is when I said, now I'm scared. Do you
Oh,
remember
yeah.
what you said?
Yeah, it felt a little bit like we were in a David Lynch film.
That's when
Yeah.
I was like, I said to Scott, bro, do you know how to fight? Fight, do. It's like, okay, good. And so because I realized all I said was like, we were here for Christopher, and like, there's a lot of Christophers in the world. Like, I didn't say his last name or anything. So anyway, we're not on anybody's radar. We finally get to Christopher, or Christopher gets to us. And of course, he like recognizes me. He's like mortified. And, you know, he's somebody who's like super busy, as are we. So we can relate to it. And I was like, dude, let's try to do this interview another time. And it was like this very Aquarian response to what really should have been like, I'm just going to say it, a major ass ache, because I was there with a super tight schedule. Right. You were a little bit more open, bro, and vibing, but you were still like on your clock. Like you went like for your own personal mission.
Yeah.
So like it was just, so we make like the decision that we're going to do this interview like the next day. And so it was totally not what we had planned. It was a complete derriere ache. And we took it and we saw it as an opportunity, right?
Yes.
To like reframe what we were doing and jam together a little bit. So we leave Christopher's, and I knew that I was supposed to connect back up with my women friends. But I was like, dude, first, like, let's go to some weird desert dispensaries so I can take in some like energy. And we found it. I mean, like, we found like the funky, funny one, like where the dude was like 6'3", wearing, you know, like a pink Adidas shirt. Like, so many people love pink in Palm Springs. It's one of the reasons that I love it. And it was just like hardly anybody in there, like, except us. And it was just like this perfect desert like moment. And I don't know if folks have been out in the desert, but the desert is a very Aquarian place to me, because it looks like it's kind of the same, but nothing is the same. And you don't always know where you are, because the perspective is so huge and out there. And I feel like that's the Aquarian like perspective in a nutshell, is it is so out there.
It's out there for sure. And yeah, you know, and I was thinking about, you know, you're talking about things that we can do or offer to help, even in the smallest way, as we get acclimated to being out there. We're all out there now. It's not just those Aquarian people born under the sign of Aquarius. We're all there now. And then obviously about 30 days out of the year, it's going to be magnified during that transit where the sun's in Aquarius. But then that monthly, we're going to get 3 days of it when the moon's in Aquarius. So we're going to get these little lightning bolts on top of the already expansive energy that we're experiencing. And you mentioned where we were talking about the other prominent air sign right now, Jupiter. And I feel like it's doing us a bit of a favor right now, teaching and offering us one of those tools to catch those waves in a graceful and artful and elegant way, like we were talking about, not getting buried, but actually start becoming a big wave surfer.
Are you talking about Gemini?
Yeah. So it will, as while Jupiter is a bit more so the degree, it's hanging and drilling down at 11-degree Gemini for this entire 30-day sun in Aquarius transit right now. And in a nutshell, the 11th degree in the step system is about integrity, your own personal integrity. So I think right now, defining what that is for us, and more so feeling and learning to use it as a sensation for our inner integrity, um, like a tuning fork. I think Christopher's even used that analogy once, but letting integrity be a resource that we can feel and sense within ourselves as a way and a further developed aptitude to surf these waves.
For sure, brother. I agree.
And it's like, it's here the whole month. It's giving us a whole month to like learn that, feel that, sense that. And then, you know, with Uranus going direct and all these other things, like all these big planets in Pisces about to move into Aries, like we're going to have that as that's a major part of our martial art. It doesn't even have to be in a bag. It's inside us. Then we're like becoming a real martial artist and we don't even carry a bag. Bruce Lee didn't carry a bag. He's got his martial arts inside of him. And that's what we need really as we go deeper into this.
So let me ask you, in terms of like creative innovation and rethinking approaches to challenge it, you tie those things together for me with the Aquarian energy.
So I think the integrity one is what we did when we knocked on the door of the Emerald City and slammed it in our face, which is the first thing you do is just a broad leap of faith that every single experience you're having, and this is an old sage expression, this is happening for me, not to me. So anytime you feel yourself uncomfortable or awkward or, you know, that is just say it to yourself and feel how your body changes or resonates. Feel your energy and then let that integrity be your tuning fork. But find where that feels within integrity in you, and then you can respond. It's really amazing how you can respond differently just with that reframing of every single experience you have.
No, yes, I feel that so much, because what I could tell you is that what was so interesting to me about what we were kind of doing out there was this, it reminded me of kind of some of my own outdated thinking, which is, oh, this was scheduled for this time, right? Like I'm an 11-degree Cancerian, and Cancer is, obviously a different sign than Virgo, but 11 degrees is a Virgo ruled degree, right? And so for Virgos, they're very into reality. So I'm into like the integrity of my reality of taking care of people, of house, of, home, right? Like I am my home.
And it starts with your vessel, right? And that's a big part of that 11 energy too. And the Virgo energy is like that. That's like the lower degrees of it. The foundation of it is taking care of my vessel so that I can manage.
Yeah, that's it. That's a big one. And I think that, if we can rethink some of our approaches to challenges within the vessel, the vehicle, right? Because I'm really feeling and seeing people that are coming to my office on the hypnotherapy, higher self side of it, as well as on the body, food, colon and hydrotherapy side of it, that folks are saying, I'm tired.
Mm-hmm.
It's winter in North America. There's less light. People haven't been outside as much. Thank God it's supposed to warm up here in Middle Tennessee, and we're going to be kind of experiencing spring-like weather this coming, week, which is really nice. That's one of the benefits of living in the Southeast. But people are feeling the winter blahs kind of, and what I like about this new energy that we're moving through is that I have a lot of clients that are saying, I never considered doing anything like this before. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, right on time.
Right on time. Yeah, the awareness is set in. And that's the important thing, and they're still latching into this 11 thing. I mean, love myself some more, right? So, but add them up to that's 2, your feelings. So when you're trying to feel better about yourself physically, I mean, you can start with asking yourself, how am I going to feel after I eat that? How am I going to feel after I do a little yoga? How am I going to feel after I do some breath work? How am I going to feel after I eat a candy bar or sit in my chair all day?
Mm.
So, I mean, that's one, again, one simple thing you can ask yourself to start making quantum shifts that then just sets you up to maximize that awareness that is setting in if you're even interested.
Yeah. And what do you want to feel?
Yeah. That's
Right.
the bigger. That's even the next question. Yeah.
Like
What do you want to feel?
what do I want to feel? And I think that that's an innovative approach to facing challenges in general. What do I want to feel? And, I've been thinking a lot about like your emotional GPS system, your emotional guidance system. And I think that it's set up emotions to let us know if our frequency is what we want to feel and experience or not.
Yeah. If it's an integrity with our higher self.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Integrity with our higher self. And how do we even get to the integrity of our higher self, which I think is a very individual route for so many of us? For instance, today I had to get into integrity with myself. I have been externalized and pumping it for 2 solid weeks, for 14 days, been away, been doing this, been doing that, have seen a ton of clients, have been creating, writing, doing the podcast, trying to create. And I was out of integrity with my body. And what I know is that for me, I'm somebody that has a lot of energy. So I can rise at 5 or 5:30, I can get right on it. I like to take, this is the Spaniard in me. I like to take that middle of the day, touch in with myself. I get outside, in the midday, almost every single day. But guess what? Meetings started creeping in to that sacrosanct time that my stillness meetings with myself, because there's only so many hours in the day. And so I allowed that experience into my life of taking that sacrosanct time, and I kind of created a challenge, by giving that up. Because what I want to feel is energized all the time. And I know for me, as somebody that, based on her personality type, I have to go back inside of myself in order to have energy to externalize with others. Right. So I had to really look creatively at this and say, okay, here's a little bit of a challenge. I'm feeling pretty exhausted, and I have a birthday celebration that's really important. I have a podcast that's really important that I have to get to. And I had to really do something that I normally would not do, which is cancel something. Right? Like I don't cancel. Like it was one of those, like I had to phone a friend about the canceling. And she was like, yeah, you don't cancel. And she's like, if you're canceling, you have to. And I said, because I know what I want to feel is energized. And if I don't have the next few hours to recharge my batteries, I'm going to just hit a wall. And it's going to be like a 5-day wall as opposed to taking 5 hours that I need. And I think that like this was a totally different way of me solving a challenge, because the way I would have solved it previously is I would have done what others expected of me, which might be out of integrity with my own health and wellness. because I made a commitment. Well, what about the commitment that I make to myself? Like, so perspective and really like looking at these out of the box, like possibilities and solutions, I'm sure that it's not like something I want to do all the time is to cancel things. But why would I even go to that extreme if I was trying to solve a challenge in a new way? Why would I think that it would somehow repeat? So I was like, oh, this is just a mind game, Michele. Like your higher self, like you know what the right answer is. Like you need to meditate, you need to take a sauna, you need to like be your own colon hydrotherapist, you need to do a foot bath, you need to make yourself juice, and you need to get ready for like what makes your heart happy later, which is doing your podcast and celebrating a birthday. And so I was like, just really, and I'm not even sure with this meandering, if it's like going to be helpful to people, but it's something that I want to express because perfect timing, perfect appointments, perfect people, things always going your way. It's like time to get comfortable with being uncomfortable, but in a way that no longer is uncomfortable. It's just newness.
Yes, because really that is where the growth always happens, is in the newness, the unexpectedness, the uncomfortable. And like those are almost always opportunities to respond in a different way, or at least to feel something uncomfortable and have to respond and not react
Mm-hmm.
every
Mm-hmm.
time.
Isn't Aquarius fixed air, Scott?
It is.
Right there, you have the two wavy lines.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
air that's fixed. Like, what the fluff?
Yeah.
Could you talk about that for a second? Like with fixed air, fixed water, like what?
Yeah. Yeah. Those are both, because there's both such flowy elements. So it's interesting to even ponder what that means. I mean, if I check in on that, I think the fixed element of those. I mean, I think that's the challenge. It's us, how we feel, how we experience that air and the water would be the fixed element, like how we respond to our experiences within the Aquarius energy, within a flowing energy. I mean, yeah, I don't know. That's deep.
I mean, do you think that fixed is depth?
Fixed is like a rock in the water and everything's flowing around it.
I mean,
Depth is a good way to look at it, I think.
Because I feel like that a lot of people with fixed energy get like this like bum rap of they're immovable somehow.
Like stubborn or something.
Stubborn. And you can say like the other side of that is stability.
Yes.
Right.
Right. And I think everything there are healthy states or harmonious states, maybe would be a better way to put it. And then this harmonic states.
Like, so Taurus is a fixed sign, Leo, Taurus is fixed earth, Leo is fixed fire, Scorpio is fixed water, and Aquarius is fixed air, right?
Yes.
And so to me, if you put words like stability, persistence, determination, resilience, determination, like those
reliability.
Yeah.
That's a healthy sign of fixed energy.
And I feel like the manifestation for fixed energy is excellent for like long haul things.
Yeah, visionary even. Like
Mhm.
you hold it in your third eye, really. Hold it sturdy and steady.
I feel like there's real staying power and there's real like mastery in fixed energy, you know?
Mhm.
And I hardly have any fixed energy in my chart whatsoever. And like none. That's notable,
Yeah.
I don't. But the thing about it is that when you think of like air, and air holds water, okay, literally. And then you put like this idea of water and consciousness together within the air. I think that one of the creative approaches to looking at how we can kind of master these challenges as opportunities to create innovation is by saying there's a lot of consciousness available to us in a very stable, determined format that we've never had afforded to us before to create like long term outcomes. Because the last time that we had like a Pluto and Aquarius transit was the French and the American Revolution. I understand that listeners, keep hearing us say that, but that's the last time. And you had two republics that were formed that have had a lasting, enduring existence so far, you know? So I don't know. I feel like some of the challenges are like time space challenges right now for people. It's almost like, it almost feels to me like a retrograde energy, like that you have that opportunity to clean out the closet, but it's like a hall of mirrors. It's like closet after closet after closet after closet. Like if you want to use this stable energy in a new way.
Hmm. Sounds like you're feeling that. What you described me as a bit of that feeling of the nodes just moving, the North Node just moving into Pisces.
I
It's
see.
a very like infinite holographic feeling, and the nodes only move retrograde.
That
So
could be what I'm vibing
feeling
with.
experience that and for the high degrees because of that. You had the 29 and just moved to 28. So you're getting that manifestation and integrity energy within all of that right now.
And this is for the next 18 months, right?
For the next 18 months. That's
For the next 18 months. So the North Node is in Pisces and then the South Node is in Virgo, right?
Yes.
Can you talk a little bit to our listeners about the nodes and thematically how they could use this energy again, just thematic energy?
Yeah, that's a great question because I do think this shift is another tool to help with this new like dramatic and excitable Aquarian liturgy. And it is, passing through the air, like you said, it is, there's the symbol is two waves, but it's really like infinite waves out there that are floating around. And to use that old analogy about it's just tuning in to whatever radio station you want. And that's the awareness that's starting to surface for each of us now to want to be in charge of our frequency and tune into something that feels good and use our internal energy. And those nodes, and in layman's terms, the North Node tends to be both individually and collectively what you want to move towards. So the Pisces energy right now, yes, that is a watery energy, but beyond that, it's a very spiritual, karmic, mystical energy um, to have to navigate through. So,
It's your soul's growth path.
yes.
I think it's your soul's growth path.
Yeah, the North Node it is that. So like that's that's a mechanism to use to move towards getting control over your frequency.
Yes.
Node in Pisces, the Pisces energy. And right now in Tinsel, you're like manifesting through your spirit, manifesting by letting go of, well, you almost don't have to now, just accept that you've let go of karmic contracts. We've moved through those. We can actually breathe a bit of a sigh of relief now and move into these new energies and areas where we are capable of getting on what frequency we want. And then the antithesis of that, the south node, is what you want to move away from a little bit right now.
I think it's about your karmic patterns, right? Your past life stuff. Like, what
Yes.
are you like realizing represents like habits and tendencies that are not serving you? That might be
Yes.
comfort zones that aren't helpful to you. Is that true? I think that's
Very
what.
much. Very much. And
Mhm.
so, and if we examine that through the lens of Virgo,
Right.
again, all signs have, harmonious and disharmonious things. So this is not like an anti-Virgo statement, but it's just like an awareness thing. But things like perfectionism, which we talked about earlier, like have an ideal in your mind of what something should happen like. That is a limitation.
It totally is. And I have
And like that is a
Virgo, yeah.
Virgo-esque limitation. And also the body, like they're talking about really getting your vessel fit to be able to manipulate your frequency to the way you want. So an out of balance Virgo thing would be an out of balance body. So like getting that in tune, it's not a shallow thing. It is actually like doing something great for yourself to then be able to, on a further level, be in charge of your spirit and your heart and recognize your feelings of heart and your mind by having your vessel stable. I teach tennis, as we've talked about, and that's something I really hit on hard with a lot of my students a lot, is that it doesn't matter how good your technique is or how great your forehand is or all these things, but like if you break down physically, everything else breaks down. Best players on earth will, everything, including their mind, including their heart, and their passion will break down when they physically break down. So when we take charge of our vessel, then we actually enhance the ability of our heart to stay in integrity and our mind to be a great accomplice to our heart and sharp with our decisions, to have clarity for our intuition to really shine. And it really is, it's not a vain or shallow thing to take care of our physical health.
No, not at all. I would say it's integral.
It's integral. Yes.
It's integral. Like if you don't take care of it, it's gonna, you can handle your body, your body's gonna handle you, or you can care for your body and your body will care for you. Like I feel like there are those kind of, camps that kind of people fall into, and I would rather care for it so it cares for me,
Yeah.
I think that one of the things that would be really funny and fun, and it's like going to be a little game that we do, Scott. And so it's going to be, the game is called Actionable Steps. And so
I'll clench my malachite.
I'm going to give you, shall we say, an opportunity to problem solve with me, if you will.
Yeah.
When we take some actionable steps, because I think that where adults get a little bit stuck is our learning gets limited, the learning about ourselves. Like gets limited because we're kind of in that day-to-day task oriented, if you will, rhythm. Like you wake up, it's time to make the donuts. Like you go make the donuts, then you finish your day from making the donuts, and then you go home. And then maybe you make supper, And, there's like this predictability for adults that I think sometimes can shut down some of our creative problem solving abilities just because we stop kind of learning about who we are. So I made a little list of some actionable steps that we might want to take as creative approaches to solving some problems that we might have. So, and I'm doing these based on the theme of Aquarius. So the first theme would be opposite day and how we take actionable steps during opposite day. So one of the things, this is a little bit of a side note, but it's a true story. I once asked my dad on some very lengthy car trip, how did you learn to parent? Like, what informed you? And he said, oh, I can tell you very quickly what informed me of this. And it's, I always thought, what would my father do? And then I did the opposite. And so I was like, that's really interesting. So one of the Aquarian actionable steps that I want to visit, Scott, is, do you ever use opposite day as a creative or maybe just opposite moment? Maybe day is too much of a commitment. Like, have you ever solved something as of late from the opposite of your normal perspective?
Sure. So the elimination diet, right? Basically.
Yes.
Of problem solving. And I mean, just directly applying it to Aquarius, the Aquarius energy is a lot about where do I belong? Right?
Yeah.
So where do I not belong? Sometimes is easier and a more primal, instinctive, intuitive response to something is you feel like, well, I don't know where I'm headed, but I know it's not there. I know that doesn't belong with me. That energy doesn't belong with me. That thought doesn't belong with me. That food doesn't resonate with me. What doesn't belong with you in your heart and in your energy? Yeah, absolutely. That's like directly to the Aquarius element.
Yes, these are Aquarian themed
Yeah.
actionable steps as we continue to play.
Yeah.
So another one that I'm going to talk to you about is experimentation with new tools and the martial arts, right?
Mhm.
And so one of the things that I think is a really cool, all right, I'm just going to come forward with it all. I have fallen in love with ChatGPT. I love ChatGPT. It's my favorite app ever so far. It is like a library, like right here in my hands. Like, I thought that encyclopedias were cool. I thought search engines were cool. I can't even believe what ChatGPT is in my life. So I have been taking new steps to explore this new app, right? And it's resolving some challenges for me. Like, legit, because I'm somebody that has a lot of ideas and not always a lot of time to get all of that pulled together. And I'm able to explore this new way through an app. That's like so Aquarian, because did you ever think that I would be talking to you about any of this, Scott?
No, but I have to give you kudos for not being limited in your beliefs.
Thanks, friend.
Being open to new experiences and new things. And that does not exclude technology. I mean, when you look at the grand beyond bird's eye galactic eye, I mean, it is could be still considered a very primitive technology. So it's not, it's all vantage point. So being willing to be open and expansive is, beginner's mind. So like, that's like, well, I've almost come full circle there from an elimination diet to beginner's mind, but you've completely embraced that. And now you are actually not only using it, you're having fun with it. I can see you are giddy about it.
I really am. It's making my heart super happy.
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be Hal from 2001 Space Odyssey.
That's right. Oh my God. ChatGPT, I never thought of you as that, just so you know.
Yes.
Let me ask you this. Do you have any new tools that you're using in your toolbox, my friend?
New tools. That's a great question. So much of my daily existence is about sharpening and utilizing and almost like a ritual of the tools that I have.
Uh-huh.
If there's a new tool that I'm using, I guess I need to develop a relationship with what's it called?
ChatGPT.
Yeah.
You could use Claude AI if you want.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That evidently I need to work on it.
so new tools for Scott next time.
Lots of old tools I used.
Lots of old. So no, that's okay. It's a good check-in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
It's
it is.
like a good check-in, because I think that one of the things that, all right. So I used an example, and I'm sure you're gonna love this example. So using AI brainstorming tools or some mind mapping stuff, or software to visualize solutions. Like, I have heard about some really interesting and innovative tools that are available for brainstorming ideas that people have. A crypto shed might be one of those ideas that maybe one has used ChatGPT and brainstormed with. Just saying. So,
Yeah.
it's there's something about adults that we get really comfortable with being comfortable sometimes. And I know that the growth isn't always the fun part. It sometimes is a part that's like a bit of work for us. But I feel like leaning into those experimentation with new tools in our, purview in our toolbox is a really Aquarian way to look at challenges that we might have around time, around management, around, production. Because as the energy is quickening, getting done what we need to get done, I think needs to be in a really grounded kind of a manner and a fashion. And I think that for like a lot of those of us that are creative, innovative entrepreneurs, we get pressured by feeling time is a challenge. So I'm just like inviting listeners to say, hey, I can take an actionable step towards using new tools that are going to shift my entire perspective of time, space, and what I'm actually able to get done.
Yeah. And also I think, and not to pivot like against the chat thing, but a new tool for somebody, meditation can be a new tool for somebody.
Heck yeah. Organic tool.
Like an ancient mechanism, because again, all things from the galactic perspective are ancient. All things, all technology, all wisdom is ancient. So like meditation can be a new tool. It doesn't have to be sci-fi.
Completely. The organic technology and the spiritual technology to me is far more powerful than anything that's artificial.
And I will say, with certain things like deep meditation or hypnosis or trance, or for instance, I just spent 10 days doing about 15 grams of psilocybin, and on on the coast. And new neural pathways are definitely new ideas, new tools, new thinking. So anything that can create new neural pathways in the brain and just being aware of that
Yeah.
is like a very powerful thing to embrace. And a lot of these things we're talking about, what's cool about them is they're new experiences every time.
That's right. And binaural beats and frequency using hertz can also, create that, as well as things like visionary plant medicine, right?
Yeah.
I just feel like, you know, innovation and community and authenticity and new ways of looking at things is just so going to be throughout this 20-year transit in our faces continually, not just when we're in like the month of Aquarius, but Pluto and Aquarius is a 20-year transit. It's just like Capricorn was in our faces for the last 15 years with systems, right? Systems after system after system, from learning about the government systems to the corporation systems to the banking systems to the educational systems to the university systems to the medical systems. Like, systems were in our faces. And we have transited, those systems. We've moved through them. And now you're seeing the innovation. And some of innovation is knowing what has to go.
Yeah. Yeah, both. When you're confronted with something new, it's just as easy to say why not as to say why.
Mm-hmm.
It's just as valid and, as you said, integral.
Yeah. I mean, like, how many new approaches can you take this week?
Yeah.
That's kind of like the question that I have posed to myself is, how many new approaches can I take?
Yeah.
And it's a really fascinating study, because when you approach it like that, it becomes kind of like a game, with yourself rather than a task with yourself.
Yeah. And I think opportunities can surface like in the most subtle ways for that.
On your way home.
Yeah, on your way home in your like general day-to-day lives. And something that you recognize, so this is a feeling, a pattern of a feeling. How can I take a different route this time?
Yeah.
How can I do this?
Like, to embrace creative problem solving.
Yeah.
And rather even than seeing them as problems, seeing them as opportunities to actually shift perspective, therefore to change outcome.
Right. Or to step into your power to be the controller, the seer, instead of, being the seer of the illusion of time, and not time being the one that's limiting you.
Yeah. I mean, like, I'm really curious if listeners want to like drop a comment about something that they are changing for themselves, a new approach, an innovative way of looking at something, a creative brainstorming, whatever that newness is, that innovation, those steps are. Just try it, because you know what? It's so much better to go out and to do something. It's so much more empowering to go out and to do something and to say, hey, you know what? I went through the wrong door and I'm going to go through the right door next time, rather than never going through the door at all. Like, I think that's another way to embrace a challenge, because I think a lot of people have limiting beliefs around, what if I do this and I do this wrong, especially as adults.
Yeah. Concerned about doing it wrong. Right. So a creative new tool, new way would be like, maybe right and wrong don't belong in my vocabulary in this situation. I'm just going to get rid of that. Doesn't belong.
That's another actionable step that somebody could take,
Yeah.
is to move to neutrality.
Yeah.
Like, that could be super innovative for you. I know I've been working it for the last, good 6 months of just really moving into that neutrality. So, I feel like if we can try to just grant ourselves a fresh perspective, just give ourselves the gift of that, I think that creative innovation can flow from us.
I agree. Like that gift is like it's a quantum gift, a quantum shift to give yourself that. And we do have that within our individual power to do so.
Yeah. That to me is one of the coolest things about being human, right?
Yeah.
And to know that we can, in fact, change.
Yes, we can.
And I think that doing it creatively, innovatively, doing it communally, doing it in new ways with different perspectives is what the beginning of this entire fabulous transit that we just entered is all about. And I really look forward to listeners sharing what it is that they're like changing and what new perspective, they've come into awareness with. So, bro, if you would lead us on out with an affirmation.
I have become awareness. I have become aware that awareness cannot be undone. I have become responsive and not reactive. I have become capable of powerful, positive growth and change. I have become attuned to the nuance of the moment. I have become lucid in that quantum change occurs explicitly in the moment. I have become the seer of the illusion of time, not the other way around. I have become knowing of me.
Beautiful, my brother. Thank you so much, y'all, for listening. And Power Rangers, get on out there, be your most empowered self and enjoy it all because in an instant it changes. And this is all a gift right now. Thank you so much for listening. Blessings, love, and we will see you next time. Mwah.